Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And first of all, I want to say thank you so much for staying with me throughout this journey. We've recently reached 2,000 subscribers, and it just seems to be growing from here on out, so I'm really excited about bringing you new kinds of content and continuing to expand the channel. And to celebrate that, I'm going to do a little giveaway. So stay tuned towards the end of this video, and you'll find out how to participate and potentially win a gift box of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Anyway, since my audience is getting bigger and bigger, I thought it'd be a good time to talk about my Commander philosophy, what my approach is towards building decks and playing Commander in general, so that we can all be on the same page whenever people watch my videos or come to my channel. And to do so, I'm going to go over my main 5 points for deck building in Commander. And we're going to start off with my approach to combo. I actually think that 2-card combos are perfectly fine these days. Now let me clarify that. I don't think that you should be running a deck that just wants to combo off every game and just wants to execute the same combo over and over. At least that's not what I enjoy in my games, but I've come to appreciate the fact that 2-card combos can often end a long and stalled out game on the spot. In the past, I never really included combos at all in my deck, and whilst I found that games were fun and interactive for the most part, what tended to happen was that the game would go really long, there'd be a lot of sweepers, and I'd be trying to win through damage every game, and occasionally it would be very hard to close out those games, and that's not really fun for everyone. So I think combos are fine as long as they happen naturally and they're kind of ending a game that has gone on long enough. However, if you're just comboing off on turn 3 or 4 every game and just winning the game before anyone has really had time to do the thing, then that's an entirely different situation, and I'm not for combos in that kind of sense. So this first point leads into our second point very nicely, which is to limit or remove tutors entirely from your decks. Now this is something that I absolutely do for the most part. I do sometimes run some limited narrow tutors if they're very relevant to the deck I'm building and they fit the theme very well, but mostly I restrict it to 1 or 2 per deck and very rarely include universal tutors that can tutor for anything in my deck. The reason for this, in my opinion, is pretty clear. When I play Commander, I want every game to play out differently, and that particularly applies to my own decks. I want to have a different experience every time I play the game, because I do get pretty bored quickly with decks, and the best way to have a different experience every time I found is to remove tutors. Yes, tutors are incredibly powerful and good in Commander because they give consistency to your deck, but that consistency can also detract from the experience. If you're basically doing the same thing game after game after game, maybe that's fine for you, but for me personally, it's something that I don't find fun. I really want to be surprised by my deck, and I really want to do something different every game. Apart from the fact that tutors make your decks much stronger, they also basically mean that you're always going to be searching for the same cards in the same kind of situations. If you need a finisher, you're going to get that finisher. If you need a board wipe, then you're going to get that. It removes a lot of the excitement out of top decking and the, oh, will I get there kind of situation where you're often digging for answers, and those are some of the best moments in Commander, when you actually pull an answer out of nowhere and win the game. Moving on to our third point, this one is again somewhat related to the previous two, and that is to avoid staples that go in every deck. Now this is one that we're all a little bit guilty of, and I certainly am myself. We almost always start with some cards that we include in every deck. For most people, that's going to be at the very least Soul Ring, which makes sense. I think putting Soul Ring in every deck is absolutely fine. However, once you start auto-including things in decks, you're very much limiting yourself, and you're kind of not exploring the full deck building experience that Commander has to offer. This is also somewhat related to the EDH rec issue that I pointed out in a video a short while ago, which I will link here. But to sum it up, if you're always using the cards that are deemed the best for the slot, then you're actually missing out on so much, and a lot of the time they're not even the best cards. For example, if your Commander is a 3-drop and you're including a lot of Cultivate or Kodama's Reach in your decks, that doesn't really make sense, because you're going to be playing your Commander on turn 3 and you want to be ramping him out, so you should be instead including a lot of ramp that costs 1 mana. That's just a very simple example, but there's a ton more. If your deck has a theme that heavily revolves around creatures, for example, then it doesn't make sense to include cards like Farseek or Nature's Law, even though they may be the best cards in the deck. This doesn't only apply to ramp either. There's obviously a lot of cases for other types of cards as well, such as removal or just general game pieces. You always want to be thinking about what your deck is trying to do when you're building a deck, and not just cramming the best cards in every time. And this will also lead to a again, more varied and interesting games on your part. Every deck will look different, you won't constantly see the same cards over and over in every game, seeing as most people playing those cards, and you'll be able to get that ever elusive, hey, what does that do, from your friends, which I always love when they have to pick up a card and read it because they have no idea and they've never seen it before. That's a great feeling. So before we move on to the next point, I want to tell you how to participate in this giveaway that we're doing. If you want to have a chance to win the Lost Caverns of Ixalan Gift Edition bundle, then you need to comment on this video, gift me the box, Command Power, and I'll put your name into a lucky draw, which will be chosen at random. You have 1 week until next Sunday to enter, and then I will announce the winner next Monday. Anyway, moving on to my next point, that is that you should prioritize interactive cards. Now, what do I mean by this? I don't only mean that you should play decks full of removal, although playing more removal is something that we should all do, including myself, because I definitely don't play enough interaction. What I do mean is that you should play cards that keep your opponents involved, cards that keep everyone in the game and make everyone care about what's happening, because too often these days everybody is just playing by themselves. They're playing their own deck, they're just trying to combo off by themselves, and they're not really playing anything that interacts with the table in a meaningful way. So cards that I really like are cards that keep you invested during opponents' turns. That's why something like Keen Duelist is my favorite card in Commander, because every turn it's exciting and every turn you get to choose someone to become kind of your ally, or your ally in pain at least, and take a bunch of damage and draw a card. That keeps the game exciting and moving on, and it makes your opponents have to make decisions, which is really cool. You're getting them involved in the game even outside of their own deck, which makes them feel invested. Even if they're having a bad game, you can help draw them back into it. Another card that does do this, even though it's much maligned, is something like Ristic Study. It does make your opponents think no matter what they're doing, and they have more control over it than something like Smothering Tithe, which I kind of think is in the same camp, but it's a little bit less pleasant. So yeah, you want cards that are keeping your opponents on your toes, but also involving them in the decision making. I try to include as many of these as I can in a deck because it makes our opponents stay invested in the game and actually enjoy our decks, which is definitely part of the fun of Commander. Nobody wants to see a bunch of people just mashing combo decks one against the other without actually involving any of the other players at the table. And finally, my last point is don't take it all so seriously. At the end of the day, Commander and Magic the Gathering in general are just games. You're playing them with your friends to have fun, hopefully, so try not to let losing affect you. For me, I tend to not take things too personally most of the time, even when I'm having horrendous luck, and my surname is Murphy, so I do often have horrendous luck, but I try to take it all in stride and laugh about it, or get like fake salty about it and like joke around about how I'm miserable, but most of the time it doesn't really affect me because I'm there to have fun, and sometimes the beats are not good, so the best you can do is try to make the most of it and enjoy your time with your friends. Because if you're like me, life is very busy and you don't actually get as much time as you would like to play this wonderful hobby. So seeing as that is the case, why spend it being annoyed and being salty? Just enjoy it. So anyway, there you have it. That has been my main Commander philosophy. What do you think about this? Do you agree with the points I've outlined in this video? Let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And don't forget to participate in the giveaway as we detailed earlier in the video, and until next time, take care!